Well, last and not least, this is the last topic of your unit, and this is more stuff you've probably seen before, but it's worthwhile viewing it. Now, you remember that an expression, well, in English, an expression is just something you say. In math, an expression is a way of expressing yourself, a way of saying something. So, if I wanted to say double a number, well, I've just said it in English. I can also say math. So another way of saying double a number as well. Let's pick a variable for number. We'll say n. We know that double means 2 times something, so 2 times n. So we'll just write that as 2n. That's an expression right there. What if I said double a number minus 4? Well, that's pretty easy. I just go minus 4. These are some pretty easy, I think. We can do something like, how about 3 less than half a number. Now that seems a little more complicated, and it is. Well, we already picked n for number before, so let's put an n here somewhere. Half of a number would be, well, we could write it as half n, like this, but the best way to write that would be n over 2. Okay, so that's half of a number, right? We figured that out. And 3 less than that, well, 3 less than that would just be subtract 3, right? That's that. So expressing 3 less than half a number, but I'm expressing it mathematically. That's not too bad, eh? So let's try some more complicated expressions, because you know that's coming. That's what we do in math. We complicate things, right? So let's complicate matters here. Okay, pick pink because it's easy to see. Okay, so let's say that Jerry works for $14 an hour. He also gets a 20% commission on all his sales. So we can assume that Jerry works in some sort of store, and in that store he gets paid $14 an hour, which is actually wage. And on top of that $14 an hour, he's going to get a 20% commission on all his sales. A commission just means kind of a bonus on all of the things that he sells. So first thing we need to do is identify. First of all, we need a question. The question is, if Jerry sells $520 merchandise, which is just a fancy way of saying stuff in a store, how much is his paycheck? Well, we're still missing a piece of information, right? So let's just add that. Oh yeah, he also worked 10 hours. Okay, so we got a lot of information here to work with. This is kind of complicated, right? First thing we need to do is build some sort of equation to solve our problem here. So here we are. Okay, there we go. Lime green. So let's build an equation. Jerry works at $14 an hour. Okay, well 14 I can put down. $14 per hour. Now is that 14 over h or 14 times h? We'll think about that. If Jerry worked 2 hours, then this would be 14 over 2. $7 doesn't make sense. He should be making more than $14 if he works for 2 hours. It must be 14 times h, right? 14 times h means 14 times how many hours he's worked. Okay. He also gets, so plus, in addition to, it's a 20% commission on all his sales. Okay, well, sales. Let's call that and 20%. Now, hold on. That doesn't look right. We could write that, but it's not exactly correct. We know, and I'll put this on the side, that 20% is the same as 0.2. So I'm going to put 0.2s. That's our coefficient. Great. So now we have an expression. We don't have an equation yet because there's not an equal sign somewhere. So let's actually make this into an equation by saying that Jeremy's paycheck, P, is going to equal 14h plus 0.2s. Great. Now the question has also given us some information that we can input. So Seth sells $1,520 of merchandise. Well, we know that how much he sold was S, so we can substitute 1520 for S. So let's do 2 times 1,520. And he also worked 10 hours, so we can substitute that for H. And P, we don't know what P is. That's what we're trying to solve for. We can do a little bit of quick math here. It's going to equal that, and then we can add that together, 444. And we know that that's dollars, right? Not cents. So, Jerry's paycheck will be $444 and no cents. Remember, if you get a question like this where everything is in words, generally speaking, it's best practice to write your answer out in a sentence at the end too. Quite often you're actually going to get a mark just for doing that. So make sure you do that. Also make sure that you circle your answer at the end so it's clear to whoever's marking it what the final answer you came to is. This is a pretty long problem, but I mean, the steps are the same. The first thing we did was we read the question all the way through and we thought about what was happening. The next thing we did was we said we need to make an equation. To make that equation, we need to say what are the factors or the variables in this paragraph that need to be turned into variables. So hour we turn into H, his sales we turn into S, and then we decided how we were going to deal with those numbers. But our equation, it was actually pretty easy. So it's building the equation that can be pretty challenging. The key thing is just reading it over and over again and being really patient. The other key is at the very end, you can actually test your answer. So I think I'm done now, but do I really know that I'm right? Well, take a look. I found that P equals 444, right? Well, if I take 444 and I plug it in over here, and then I plug these numbers in, I'm still going to find the same thing, right? 444 will equal that. And that's about it. I mean, you can also try some other made-up situations in your head. You can think, well, what if he sold 0? If he sold 0, then S would be 0, and he would make no commission at all. And if he worked 0 hours, then he would have no pay there, and so 0 plus 0 is 0, and that kind of makes sense. If you don't work and you don't sell anything, of course your paycheck will be 0. So that kind of makes sense to me. So when you get to the end of a problem, you're not really sure, so you can just go back, substitute your answer in, and sometimes that's going to figure out whether you got the right answer. So that's modeling with algebra.